Hey there, welcome back. Um, I was thinking this morning, coffee time, that it is now June and I closed my business in December, so it's officially 6 months. 6 months that I have not been a business owner, which is wow, just wow, because the last 20 years I was building up to, leading into, founding a business from the ground up, from nothing, and spent 14 years building that business, working 7 days a week, countless hours, building a community around that business and building a staff and programs and just building out physical spaces and really dedicating all my time, energy, thoughts. I was completely obsessed by the business. It was the center of my life. And, I have to give my husband credit. He gave me so much grace because he knew how important it was to me. And now, 6 months after closing that business, when I think about how involved I was with every aspect. I was a single owner. I was the founder, the owner, the maintenance person. I was the program person. I was the lead teacher. I was the accountant. I was the marketing person. Yeah, it was literally a one-woman show. I had staff I had to manage, and if you've ever had to manage a staff, particularly of all women, if you know, you know, it's not easy. And all while I was in perimenopause and leading into menopause, so that's a subject of, in retrospect, probably kind of funny now that I can look back at it, a bit detached from it, but that was a doozy. My point in saying all this is, after building something that literally took almost all of your time for 20 years, even, vacations, my phone was on. We closed 1 day a year, which was Christmas Day. So that was 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The actual business was open for 14 years. And prior to that, I was working in the industry and trying to learn about it and educate myself. And yeah, it was my whole life. And over the last 6 months, I would have never imagined that I wouldn't miss it. And it may be surprising to some that I don't. I don't think about it. I got a notification. Hold on a second. I got to tell Primo, my 140-pound Rottweiler, to stop licking his paw. Primo, hey, no. Thank you. Leave it. Where was I? I would have been surprised to imagine that I don't think about it at all. I don't miss it. I don't reminisce over the glory days of it. In fact, I got a notification the other day in my email about it's time to renew my domain and my website. And I paused for a moment and I was like, should I hold on to that stuff? Should I just take the website? Like right now it's like, it's kind of like a placeholder. And I paused for a moment and I was like, do I need to keep it? And when I think about it, it's like, I am never, ever going backwards. I have no desire for it. I have no passion for it. You see, I am satisfied with the work I did. I am satisfied with moving forward and welcoming it and letting go. You see, you can't hold on to the past and move into the future. You can't welcome what's being conspired in the universe, so to speak, to come into your life. It's something, my future is manifesting right now. Something is going to happen today, tomorrow, next week, next month, next year. Everything is a work in progress. And if I'm not ready to step forward into that because I'm holding on to the past, what am I doing? Right? And so that momentary pause, I was like, oh, that's mine. That domain's mine. That website's mine. Those email addresses are mine. That history is mine. And for a moment I was like, well, I should just hold on to it so somebody else doesn't take it. And then I was like, what do I care? What do I care? I don't. I don't miss it. I would have thought that I would miss the people. But in some respects, I think about them and I hope they're all well. And in fact, I'm sure they're all well. And they've all moved on and they're all doing their thing. And I know that many in that community are making time and space for each other to maintain the community. But because I was the teacher and I was the leader, I always felt like I had to have an arm's length relationship. For many, many years, well, at the core of what I did was to make it about them. I had a teacher I had trained and hired, and people would come in and she would talk to them as they were getting ready to set up for their session or their class, and they would ask her, how are you doing? And she would go into everything in her life. And I finally pulled her aside and I said, listen, it's not about you. They don't want to hear about your life. They're here, to take care of themselves. And I said this to her because this is a question I posed to her at the time, and this will explain why I've kept an arm's length distance from the community that I craved and I built and sustained for so long. I asked her, someone who had been a member of my community for many years, someone who had gone through our teacher training and spent 200 hours with me, and then some, and then mentoring her as she began to teach professionally and, grow and progress. I asked her at that time, I said, what do you know about my personal life? And she thought for a moment. And she's like, I know you're married and I know you have 2 kids, but that's pretty much it. And I said to her, that's by design. Because I'm not here to talk about me. I'm here to serve others who come in after a long day's work to take a brief time to focus on themselves. And I'm not going to fill that with my day and what's going on in my life. I ask them how they're doing, and I create space for them to share with me whatever they want to share with me. And many of those people who walked through my doors over those years shared a lot with me. I knew about health issues. I knew about loved ones passing. I knew about grandbabies being born and children being sent off to college. I knew about caregiving of parents and all the things that happen in one's life. And oftentimes people will say, how you doing? To me. And I would say, I'm great. And that's it. And so my point in saying this is I kept myself separated from the community at arm's length so I could lead it. So I could sit in the seat of a teacher. I was not their friend because they didn't need a friend. I was their teacher because they needed a teacher. I was their guide because they needed guidance. And I had tools and resources in my toolbox from my teachers and their teachers before them, from the thousands upon thousands of hours of training that I had taken, from the thousands of hours of immersions and practice that I had personally learned from. And so I thought for sure that I would miss the community. I would miss the people. I would miss serving others. And I don't think about it anymore, which is surprising to me. And I'm ready to shut down that website and let it go and move forward. And something I thought I would never say, something I thought wasn't something I was capable of, because I was always so driven to improve and progress and evolve and grow. And right now I'm looking back and I'm recognizing that I was never satisfied. And it was almost like satisfaction was a foreign word or a dirty word, because satisfaction in life, I didn't understand it. So for the first time in my life, I'm satisfied. I'm satisfied with the work I've done, the energy that I put into it. I did my best, and it wasn't always easy. It wasn't always perfect. It was messy. I made lots of mistakes, but I did my best. And now in this new phase in my life, I realize I'm not the same person that started that 20 years ago. I'm not the same person who craved that or wanted that. I'm a completely different person. And that experience, that growth, all those lessons are beautiful and welcoming, and I'm so grateful for them all. For every person who provided a lesson, and many of them were hard, and many of them I didn't want. They were blessings in my life. And I grew from the experience of my interaction with them, and grew from the blessing of having them in my life for whatever time period that was. Every experience is a growth opportunity. Every failure is an opportunity to start again, knowing more and being wiser. And I see this phase of my life, these last 6 months as a blessing and opportunity. I can let go of what was and welcome what is. And I have no need to create a 10-year plan, 5-year plan, a 1-year plan. I'm not even creating a plan for my day. Every day I'm like, what do I want to do? Where do I want to put my energy? What's important to me? And every day I grow more comfortable living a life that is peaceful, that is uneventful, that isn't chaotic, that isn't driven by grit and will and desire and ego, but driven by presence, love, and striving for more and more joy. And knowing and learning in this phase in my life that satisfaction, the satisfaction of looking back at my life and understanding everything served a purpose. Everything was an opportunity to learn from, evolve from, and grow wise from. There's a difference between learning and wisdom. At this point, I have the wisdom of my personal experiences, but I am still learning every day that satisfaction, calm, comes from not caring what culture says a 55-year-old woman should be striving for. Not caring or desiring some form of aesthetic life or lifestyle. Not falling prey to needing some milestone off in the future to a person who doesn't exist yet. Because the future isn't guaranteed, and there's nothing that's so important to me that I will ever desire to create that type of sacrifice from deep passion to build something that I did over the last 20 years. In fact, what I'm truly passionate about now is quiet, calm, accepting the mess of my life and finding the beauty of it. In every little mess, every little imperfection, in every moment, finding gratitude. Whereas the messy things always called for being fixed, that's primo. And pushing things behind closed doors, closets full of stuff so the house looks presentable, so that I can portray a certain image. And that might be a good analogy. You portray a certain image of what you want people to think and believe about you, but the real you is in the mess in the closet. And I'm at a point where I'm okay with the mess in the closet, because every little thing in that closet was something important to me at one moment in time. And at this point in my life, over the last 6 months, I'm letting go of this image that I portrayed to the world, that I have it all together, that I am some kind of guru. And let me take that back. Guru in Sanskrit means someone who brings us from darkness into light. In the Western world, we say the word teacher. Guru and teacher are the same thing. A teacher enlightens someone else with wisdom. So, yes, I'm a guru / teacher, and so are you. We all are. But whereas before I sat in the seat of the teacher and I removed myself from the community so that I could lead effectively, because maybe I didn't want to show my mess. Maybe we have a thing as humans that we don't seek wisdom from average, ordinary, everyday people, even though average, ordinary, everyday people are full of wisdom, the wisdom of life, wisdom of experience. And I think for a long time, I didn't want my students to be distracted by my mess, because my mess could have been an excuse for them to not address their mess. And who was I to advise? Well, we all have a mess. The wisest among us, the experts, have mess. And nobody's perfect. Nobody's life is as portrayed on social media or out in the world. Some people, when asked, "How are you?" will say, "Great," because they don't want you to know about their mess. And that was me for a long time. And now, since closing my business, I'm more focused on being authentically me, without shame, without trying to hide my mess, without portraying that I have some enlightened wisdom. I'm just me. I'm just Marlena, 55, mother, wife, grandmother, fur baby mom, living in suburbia, and my life is ordinary, uneventful. I have no great plans for projects in the future. I've surrendered. I've surrendered and found that is the strongest thing I have ever done. Betraying confidence and wisdom and strength when I was falling apart inside, that wasn't authentic. Opening myself up to this video and saying, I don't know it all. There are days where I doubt myself a lot. There are moments where I question what I'm doing. There are moments where I reflect on mistakes. I carry shame. I carry insecurity. I carry moments of doubt. But this phase of my life, I've embraced my mess and fully become authentically me. That is 6 months of quiet, 6 months of not trying to be anything for anyone other than me. I've found over the last year, 2 years, that my strength isn't in supporting others and providing for others and doing for others. The strongest thing I can do and offer others is my vulnerability, my authentic, wholehearted vulnerability. To be afraid to share myself fully and wholeheartedly with people and do it anyway. And that is a courageous heart, and that is what I've committed to do with the rest of my life. Not apologize for who I am, not try to adapt for others and compromise myself, not try to be liked, because in the end of the day, if I'm not authentic, I won't like myself, and that's the person I'm stuck with. So yeah, cheers to the last 6 months. Cheers to letting go of that domain and that website and those email addresses. And more importantly, cheers to the mess that is me. The mess that makes me unique. The mess and the cracks and the vulnerabilities and the doubt and the insecurity and all the things that we all feel that make us authentically beautiful and unique. Cheers to the lines in my face that I earned through a life of lessons and blessings. Cheers to accepting that I don't need to change anything to be beautiful to somebody else. Because when I look in the mirror, I'm beautiful to me. And Quite frankly, I think that's the sexiest thing anybody can portray, is that they know their worth, they value their time, they won't compromise themselves for anybody. But we can allow everybody to be who they are, be kind and compassionate, and even love them, even though we don't agree with them. The world is full of chaos, and I am the calm. I am satisfied. There is nothing that I desire. And there's the saying, I don't know if it's a yogic saying, it's been so long in my life that maybe the Dalai Lama said it. I mean, honestly, I've learned so much from so many people over my life as a yogi and studio owner, that desire is the thief of joy. And it's so true, because I don't desire anything at this point. I am so satisfied with everything in my life. And I see it all as a blessing, because I remember where I came from. I'm a child of 2 addicts, a single mom. I remember a time when the only thing to eat in the house was a can of peas, and how far I've come to live a life that I have now. I'm blessed with the opportunity to live it. So that's the last 6 months. What the future holds, I don't know. I'm not thinking about it. Today, I'm going to go about my day and do all the things I need to do today that I want to do. Nothing's so important that it needs to be done right now. And tomorrow, I will be taking care of my granddaughter, because my daughter went back to work. One of my granddaughters. I'm too old to be taking care of 2 babies. Ooh, but that's what I'm looking forward to. Tonight, I'll either cook dinner or we'll go out and grab a bite when my husband gets home. We'll play it by ear. Both are good with me. So my question to you, have you become satisfied? And if you're not, why? What do you think you need? What is it that you think you want that is worth paying the price of your presence today? Because that's a very serious question, and it really is dependent on what phase you are in your life. 20 years ago, I knew I was not satisfied. I wanted more. I wanted to show the world. I wanted to show myself what I was capable of. Today, I know. So, nothing wrong with being driven. Desire can be healthy when managed, but it also can be consuming. And finding the healthy balance is a challenge. Boy, there is a whole new level that I didn't know existed until I became satisfied. So my wish for you today is you find satisfaction. Maybe you just create it for today, and you build that muscle through practice, and you find it today and tomorrow, maybe the day after. Ooh, that's a beautiful thing. And I hope you find it, or you have it, or you can work towards it, instead of some image in your imagination off in the future of what you could achieve that is more material in nature, I guess. What if your goal, you shifted your goal to become more satisfied in everything you have? Count your blessings, because you are blessed. And with that, I will close with a famous quote by Ram Dass. We are all children trying to walk each other home. Maybe it's not exactly that, but I like the children part. We are all trying to walk each other home. I add the children, because none of us knows what we're doing. So let's walk together. Let's guide each other. Leave me a comment. Maybe you have some wisdom to share with me and somebody else that's looking at the comments. But yeah, satisfaction is the key.